What do you think is the most important invention ever made? The wheel, the light bulb, or maybe the potato chip? Well, if you're an astronomer, they may have been invented by accident. A few billion years ago, it was really hard to make anything on purpose. It's me, and this is Minotaurth. Our solar system is full of things orbiting around the sun: planets, dwarf planets, asteroids, comets, a bunch of rocks and dust. Call all that stuff the solar system because gravity pulled it all together. For the most part, that stuff has been flying around the same way for billions of years. But just because it seems stable doesn't mean it always has been. In fact, when our solar system was young, it was super chaotic and dangerous. Before there were any planets, there was just a big cloud of gas and dust floating around in space. Astronomers call this a nebula. Our sun was born when gravity caused this cloud to collapse in on itself. When the center got dense and hot enough, atoms smashed into each other so hard and so often that they fused into heavier elements. Fusion, powered by that nuclear fusion, began shining light and emitting heat, creating a star. That was about 4.6 billion years ago, and it was also the beginning of our solar system. But that initial collapse didn't just create the sun. All that collapsing matter swirled around the new star in every direction, turning the cloud of gas and dust into a spinning disk. Gravity caused the stuff in this disk to stick together and clump up. These clumps were the building blocks or planetesimals of the planets, asteroids, comets, and other objects that orbit the sun today. We don't know exactly how long it took, but over hundreds of millions of years, the planetesimals in our solar system grew. They grew by colliding with other space rocks. If two planetesimals got too close, their gravity could pull them together. If they kept getting bigger, they became what we call a protoplanet. Eventually, the growing protoplanets attracted so much stuff that they ended up as round as they could be, becoming official planets. And as all that was going on, most of the action was happening far, far away from the sun. While the inner solar system was getting hot, heavy, and dense, the outer solar system was getting cold, light, and fluffy. Here's why. The sun is like a giant ball of burning plasma held together by gravity. Gravity affects everything in the solar system, including the stuff orbiting it. It pulls everything toward it, and the closer something is to the sun, the stronger the pull. So as all that gas and dust swirled around the sun, there was a limit to how far out it could pull stuff. There's still a lot of gas and dust in the outer solar system, but not nearly as much as in the beginning. With less material to work with, it took longer for stuff out there to clump together and grow. That wasn't the only thing that affected how things grew in the outer solar system. As the planets got bigger, their gravity affected the stuff around them. Like as Jupiter got bigger, its gravity started pulling things toward it. So instead of clumping together into planets, more and more stuff built up around Jupiter, making it a gas giant. Other planets in the solar system experienced this too. As the solar system grew more crowded, stuff started bumping into stuff. And when an asteroid or comet came too close to a gas giant, their gravity would pull it apart and add the bits to the planet. That explains why the gas giants Jupiter, Neptune, and Saturn are so massive. It's also why the largest asteroid you've probably heard of, Ceres, lives between Mars and Jupiter. Jupiter's gravity is so strong that it pulls things apart before they can get too big. As for the rocky inner planets, astronomers think they started out pretty similar to one another. They had lots of volatile compounds, things like water, methane, and ammonia. But then they got bombarded by things from space, asteroids. And comets crashed into these planets and left behind things like carbon and oxygen, which are part of water. But those ingredients also reacted with the rest of the planet. On Mercury, which is super close to the sun, things were so hot that any water on the planet evaporated into space. Mercury is so close to the sun that even today it could and hold on to any volatile compounds. On Venus, things were hot enough that any water was probably boiled away long ago, too. But Venus is far enough away from the sun that some compounds can stick around. Today, Venus's atmosphere is full of carbon dioxide, which may have come from volatile compounds that were broken down by sunlight. On Earth, conditions were just right. Water could exist, and that meant that Earth became a little bit of a soup. Over time, all the stuff in the atmosphere reacted with the oceans to create new compounds. Eventually, some of those reactions led to the creation of life. Meanwhile, Mars was a little colder, so water could exist but not like here on Earth. Mars is far enough from the sun that water mostly existed as ice. But it still had a decent atmosphere, So it was possible for carbon dioxide to react with water and create acids. Those acids eroded the surface, shaping canyons and valleys. Eventually, Mars lost its protective atmosphere, so any remaining water froze or turned into ice that blasted off into space. Today, our solar system looks like this: 8 planets orbiting a star and a bunch of smaller bodies zipping around. But it wasn't always this way. Some things changed after all. That crashing stuff settled down, like the orbits of the planets. For a long time, scientists thought planetary orbits were nice and neat, like the rungs on a ladder, but now they know better. Orbits are more like a barcode with lots of twists and turns. For example, Uranus and Neptune orbit the Sun on sides, not directly in front of or behind the other planets. Not only that, but the orbits of the gas giants are misaligned with the Sun. By misaligned, we mean they're not lined up with the Sun. Each axis is tilted relative to the Sun by a few degrees. And that means that Jupiter, Neptune, and Saturn aren't orbiting the Sun like you'd expect. Instead, their axes are shifted to the side. Now, if you look at the 4 inner planets, their orbits are misaligned too, but not nearly as much as the gas giants. Why are the orbits misaligned? No one knows for sure, but the best idea scientists have right now is that something big crashed into the solar system early on. If a large object came screaming through the solar system and knocked all the planets off their straight paths, it would also have changed how fast they moved. If you look at the orbital speeds of the planets, there isn't much variation between them. Mercury goes around the Sun faster than Venus, but Venus goes around the Sun faster than Earth, and Earth goes around the Sun faster than Mars. It's a gradual change in speed, and it's pretty smooth. But if there was a planet farther out whose orbit was changed dramatically, it could have flung a bunch of smaller objects into the inner solar system and knocked some of the inner planets into weird orbits. These days, the objects that remain in our solar system are pretty stable. Most of the space rocks stay in predictable orbits and don't crash into each other. But that hasn't always been the case. For example, Mars and Earth occasionally get a little too close for comfort. Every 2 years or so, Mars lines up with Earth in the night sky, and every 26 months or so, Mars and Earth pass within 48 million kilometers of each other. Sometimes this proximity gets dramatic. In 2022, a rocket launched from Earth successfully crashed into a spacecraft on Mars. That's the closest we've ever gotten to hitting another planet. This near miss happens because sometimes the planets move faster or slower than expected, and their orbits can overlap. It's not a huge deal most of the time. But back in 2016, a group of scientists realized that in 2022, the Earth and Mars might get a little too close. They were talking so close that Mars could get sucked into the Earth's atmosphere and burn up. Fortunately, Mars did not get sucked into Earth's atmosphere and burn up. But it's a good reminder that even though our solar system seems stable and boring, things are always changing, whether you can see it or not. All the planets in our solar system are pretty different from each other, so it's easy to think that we're alone. But the more scientists learn about our solar system and the more exoplanets they find, the more they realize that rocky planets like Earth might be common in the universe. Maybe there are places out there with atmospheres like Venus or oceans like Mars, or maybe both. The solar system we live in might not be special, but the place where we happen to live is pretty amazing. I'm here with Minoturf. If you want to help support this channel, you can join our community on a crowdfunding platform. Thanks for watching.